What if I told you there's a young heir living like a modern-day prince in a world of luxury so extreme it makes any Hollywood movie look modest? We're not talking about a fictional character. We're talking about someone real. And his life is more secretive, more lavish, and more mysterious than you ever imagined. His name is Barron Trump. And what's been said about him is just the tip of the iceberg. From rooms designed like European palaces to mansions with private beaches and maximum security, this young man wasn't just born into one of the world's most powerful families. He grew up in an environment where luxury isn't a privilege. But do we really know him? What secrets are hidden in Barron Trump's daily life? What's behind the closed doors of his residences that no one talks about? Stick around, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover everything they never told you about the most enigmatic and extravagant heir on the planet. And before we go any further, what would you do if you were raised surrounded by gold, marble, and servants since birth? Do you think that would change you forever? From the moment he was born, Barron lived in a completely different world than the rest of us. While other kids were taking their first steps in modest apartments, he had an entire floor to himself in the iconic Trump Tower in Manhattan. But it wasn't just a floor. It was a vertical castle in the heart of New York. Every corner decorated with Italian marble, crystal chandeliers, and furniture that looked like it came from a 17th century European museum. His mother, Melania Trump, personally designed it in a style inspired by King Louis XIV. Why? Because her son couldn't have just any bedroom. He had to be treated like royalty. The floor didn't just include a bedroom. It had a living room, a dining area, a playroom, and even a small kitchen where his favorite dishes were prepared. Can you imagine having all that to yourself when you're barely learning to talk? They say that space was his sanctuary. A place where he could run, explore, hide, and dream. No paparazzi, no strict rules, just him and a world built to make him feel like he ruled the universe. And that was only the beginning. Because while you and I dreamed about beach vacations or theme parks, Barron spent seasons at Mar-a-Lago, a place some call the Winter White House, but that he simply called my other home. Imagine waking up to the ocean breeze coming through a giant Mediterranean-style window. Walking out into a private garden surrounded by palm trees, statues, armed security, and an almost magical silence. That was Mar-a-Lago for him. Over 20 acres of luxury, exclusivity, and complete privacy. There were no worries. Just pools, golf courses, a private movie theater, and dinners with the most influential people in politics, business, and entertainment. And in the middle of it all, a child learning that normal doesn't exist when your last name is Trump. Can you imagine playing golf with your dad while helicopters fly overhead to guarantee your safety? Or dining at a table made of marble, under golden chandeliers, with butlers waiting on you? That was just an average day for Barron. But here's something most people don't know. His life in the spotlight didn't start when his father became president. It began way earlier. Barron made his first public appearance just months after he was born, on one of the most watched TV shows in history, The Oprah Winfrey Show. Millions of people saw the baby heir for the first time, in Melania and Donald Trump's arms, smiling, squirming, playing like any other baby. But he wasn't just any baby. From that moment, the world knew his life would be different. And it really, really was. In that interview, Melania talked about her parenting style and her care as a mother. Donald explained why they chose the name Barron, a name that evokes nobility, strength, power. It wasn't by accident. Every choice was meant to project greatness. Even the name. Can you imagine growing up knowing your first public photo was taken on a TV set watched by millions? That from the very beginning, people were already commenting, judging, analyzing your every move, even when you couldn't talk yet. But maybe the most shocking part wasn't the appearances or the houses, it was the gifts. Because while other kids got plastic toys or stuffed animals, Barron received a golden baby stroller. Not an exaggeration. A stroller. Covered in gold. A gift that wasn't just a luxury item, it was a statement. This child wasn't just special. He was unique. and everyone around him made sure the world knew. That stroller became a sort of relic, a symbol of the kind of childhood he was stepping into. A life where the word normal had no meaning. Where every toy, every piece of clothing, every gift had to match the legacy he was born into. And for the Trumps, the details matter. In Barron's world, those details are made of gold, marble, silk, and diamonds. But how much does a life like this shape a child's personality? What kind of impact does it have to grow up with no limits, no lack, constantly surrounded by power and attention? This is where things get even more intriguing. Because everyone sees the luxury, but no one really knows what happens behind those doors. What's his daily routine really like? What fears haunt a child who lives like a king, but is constantly being watched? And what will become of him in the future? Before we go on, let me know in the comments. Do you think this level of luxury is a blessing or a hidden burden? And if you thought this was impressive, wait until you see what comes next. Because what we're about to reveal might completely change the way you see Barron Trump. So don't go anywhere. What you're about to learn is more surprising than anything you've ever heard. Are you ready to dive deeper into this secret world? To the world, he seemed to have it all, but few can imagine the psychological impact of growing up surrounded by luxury, power, and constant surveillance. This is the story of a boy who slept under the roof of the White House, but in many ways lived in a golden cage. And no, that's not a metaphor. From the moment he could remember, Barron Trump knew he was different. Not because someone told him, but because he could feel it. While other kids learned to share toys in kindergarten, he received his first little car, dipped in gold. Literally, that was his first material memory. A gift that not only reflected the power of his last name, but the way his parents wanted him to perceive the world, without limits, without scarcity, without obstacles. Can you imagine what that means for a child? That their first sense of value isn't a hug, but a luxury object. That everything they touch costs more than most people make in a lifetime. Does that make you lucky, or trapped in a bubble? But the gold car was just the beginning. Every night, while most children listened to bedtime stories, Barron experienced a very different ritual. His mother, Melania Trump, always obsessed with her image, turned her son's nighttime routine into something out of a 5-star spa. After his bath, she would gently apply a moisturizing cream, infused with caviar. Yes, real caviar. And it wasn't just a whim. Melania, who had launched her own luxury skincare line, believed wellness should start from childhood. But what effect does that have on a kid? What happens when your skin is treated with products most people only see in magazines? What do you learn about the world when your standard is so high that everything else feels subpar? This ritual wasn't just an eccentricity. It was a lesson. It told Barron, without words, that his body deserved to be treated with elite products. That his skin was sacred. That luxury wasn't a reward, it was a birthright. And while that world solidified in his mind, another powerful structure surrounded him: education. Barron didn't attend just any school. From an early age, he was enrolled at Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School, one of the most prestigious and expensive institutions in New York. Each classroom there felt more like a boardroom than a kindergarten. His classmates weren't just kids, they were heirs to empires, children of actors, politicians, and billionaires. Imagine growing up in a place where the competition isn't about getting good grades, but about who will rule the world first. But that wasn't all. When his father became president, Barron had to move to Washington, D.C., and continue his education at St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland. Another elite temple. Another world of marble, tradition, and sky-high expectations. There, surrounded by professors with PhDs and classmates who spoke multiple languages before turning 10, Barron learned that excellence wasn't an option. It was the only way. In the middle of such discipline, did he ever feel free? Was he ever allowed to fail without consequences? At the White House, the story got even more surreal. At 11 years old, he became the first presidential child in decades to live there. His room wasn't just a bedroom, it was a high-tech sanctuary, filled with unreleased gaming consoles, exclusive gadgets, and custom-designed decor. Everything was designed to help him escape the pressure of being the president's son. But the pressure was there, even when he smiled. Every move, every step, every look was watched by the Secret Service. Barron couldn't go for a walk without 2, 3, or more agents following. He lived in a palace, yes, but surrounded by cameras, bodyguards, and rules. His privacy was almost non-existent. His childhood became a silent performance. And yet, he adapted, as if he had been born for it. But the most impressive part wasn't his room, or the private movie theater, or the bowling alley inside the house. It was his role as a public figure. While other kids joined school fairs, Barron attended state dinners. While his friends watched cartoons, he shook hands with ambassadors and world leaders. Always impeccably dressed, his every appearance was scrutinized. The press praised his elegance, his posture, his serene expression. But did anyone ask him if he wanted to be there? His mother made sure every suit was perfect, that every event showcased him as the flawless heir of the Trump empire. No room for error. No room to just be a kid. And with each appearance, the audience wondered, who is Barron Trump really behind the cameras? Does he know what it's like to play without worry? Or has his world become a constant performance? The truth is that, thanks to these experiences, Barron grew up with a view of power few ever see. He learned firsthand how politics works, how public image is built, how negotiations unfold behind closed doors. From the White House hallways to the subtle gestures of diplomats, it all became part of his unwritten education. And that exposure, though fascinating, leaves scars. Because when you see adults manipulating, promising, lying, or winning with a smile, what kind of image do you form about humanity? Do you think that shapes how you love, trust, or even lead? Barron didn't just learn manners. He learned strategy. He saw how his father was attacked, defended, cheered, or humiliated, sometimes all in the same day. He learned that truth can be shaped, that perception is everything, and that in the game of power there's no room for naivety. Meanwhile, the world watched him grow, silently. Many speculate about his future. Will he follow in his father's footsteps? Or rebel against the legacy he was born into? One thing is certain, he's no ordinary young man. He never was. And while gold, caviar, and the White House sound like privilege, they're also part of a life story few could endure without breaking. Do you think you could? If this video has surprised you as much as it surprised us making it, give it a like, it helps us out a lot. And tell me in the comments, how do you think growing up under that level of exposure and pressure affects a child? Do you believe having everything is really having everything? Because sometimes the greatest luxury is being free. But we'll talk more about that in a moment. No one imagined that this Easter at Mar-a-Lago would be so different, that it would leave everyone wondering if young Barron Trump was showing signs of something much bigger. And we're not just talking about his height, which already surpasses his father's, but about his presence, how he moves, how he speaks to the elite, as if he were born for it, because he was. Picture this, a majestic hall, warm lights, soft music. The gardens shine under the Florida sun, and among the guests walks Barron, wearing an impeccable black suit and a yellow tie, no coincidence. Every detail is calculated. Every gesture, every word, under the spotlight. But him, he looks calm, as if that world already belonged to him. And this is where the story begins to shift. For years, Barron was an almost invisible figure. The youngest Trump, always in the background, shielded from the media chaos. But that Easter was different. For the first time, all eyes were on him. Not just because of his style or the grandeur of the place, but because of what he represented, the silent heir to a political, media, and economic empire. And what if I told you that celebration wasn't just a party? That behind the flashing cameras and the laughter, there was a strategy. Because yes, Mar-a-Lago is more than just a mansion. It's a chessboard where every move has a purpose. And that Easter, Barron made his first move. Next to him, Melania watches with a mix of pride and calculation only a former First Lady could master. Donald, meanwhile, keeps introducing him, pointing at him, encouraging him to speak with certain guests. As if saying, take a good look, he's next. But the real surprise didn't happen that day. It came later. Weeks later, Barron turned 18. Legal adulthood. The exact moment when everything changed. Because although many thought he would remain a quiet, low-profile teen, Barron accepted a role no one saw coming: Florida delegate to the Republican National Convention. Yes, you heard that right. The same kid who played soccer with passion, who avoided interviews, who seemed distant from politics, decided to enter the game. Not as a spectator, but as an active piece on the board. What drove him? Family pressure? Personal ambition? A long-term plan? The truth is, that step placed him directly in the spotlight. And this time, not as the son of, but as a young man beginning to write his own story. Because being a delegate isn't just a title. It means having a voice, a vote, and presence. It means learning from the inside how the levers of power really work. And meanwhile, the Barron many assumed was fragile or disinterested begins to reveal himself as calculated, charismatic, and composed. Fully aware of his role in a family that never stops generating controversy. But you know what's most unsettling? That despite being surrounded by extreme luxury, watches worth more than cars, tailored suits, and access to the world's most exclusive spaces, Barron has found his own escape route. A passion that connects him to something real, something grounded far from politics and billion-dollar deals. Soccer. Yes, while the media tried to decode his political future, he laced up his boots and hit the pitch. Like any other kid his age. Except in his case, he trained with teams like DC United and the Arlington Soccer Association. Places where your last name doesn't matter, only your skill does. And there, Barron transformed. From billionaire heir to committed striker. From emerging politician to disciplined athlete. Because in soccer, he found something money can't buy: authenticity. Maybe that's why his story is so captivating. Because Barron Trump is not just a symbol of wealth and power. He's a young man trying to find his place between two worlds that rarely collide: elite politics and grassroots sports. And you? What would you do if you were him? Would you follow in your father's footsteps, facing the pressure of millions of eyes watching your every move? Or would you walk away, chasing something that truly ignites your soul? Drop your answer in the comments. Because this story is just beginning, and your voice is part of it too. Now, let's go back to his fashion sense. Because if Barron has proven anything in every public appearance, it's that style isn't improvised. Since childhood, he's been a figure of elegance. Always sharp, always on trend, but with a personal touch. Subtle, classic, refined, far from flashy. And that's no accident. Melania has been his style mentor from day one. A mother who understands the power of image. Who knows that every outfit sends a message. And Barron has learned well. From bespoke suits to luxury watches, every piece speaks of a refined, controlled, deliberate identity. A Rolex Submariner. An Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. A Patek Philippe Nautilus. These aren't just watches. They're symbols. Of status, sure. But also of long-term vision. Because those who choose a Patek know they're investing in something that outlives them. Do you see it? Every decision in Barron's life seems to carry double meaning. And that's no coincidence. It's training. It's strategy. It's the result of growing up in one of the most complex, high-pressure environments on the planet. But despite all that, Barron remains a mystery. He speaks little, smiles less. But he watches. He learns. He prepares. And that's scary. Because the quiet ones are often the ones with the most to say. Will he be the next Trump in politics? Or will he shock the world with a completely different path? What's clear is that he's already in motion, and there's no turning back. So if this story left you with more questions than answers, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment telling me what part surprised you most. Was it the soccer? His political debut? His watch collection? I want to hear from you. And if you love stories that blend power, family secrets, and decisions that could change everything, check out this other video on the channel. It'll leave you speechless. See you there?